So once again, I'm back to my clean slate, 11 by 17, file new, like I showed you. Now, when we were in Photoshop, we place embedded. Well, you'll notice here, we don't get a place link or a place embedded. We just get a place. So I'm just going to choose place. Find my folder. And find our sketch. Now, let's see here. Let's go with this. All right, so like I said, a lot of times it's logos, t-shirts, designs. Now, this is just someone else's I found. And you can see I can place it, move it, scale it, do it, whatever. I'm going to do with this crab right here, just because it's got some artistic ability. But you'll often find that because we can't just erase, see, or cut things out inside of Illustrator, okay? How do we actually take away what we want and what we don't want here? Well, remember, when we bring in a layer, let's see what it is. It's just a layer and it's something in this layer. It's a shape, right? It's a JPEG I placed onto that layer. So to cut out or to take away what I don't want here, to kind of trim, right? I'm just going to use a simple pen tool and just draw some clicks to cut out or trim out what I want and what I don't want. And you see, all I did there was make a shape. Yeah, I can, even if I want to, fill it with black just to show you. It's just a shape. And then I can hold that shift, select the JPEG underneath of it, and right click and make what's called a clipping mask. Well, we saw the clipping mask, right? We saw that when we were doing photo manipulation to cut something out of something else using a pen tool. And you see, just by choosing that clipping mask, you actually can see here that you see the original full size, but now all I have to deal with is this little guy right here. I've got it where I want it to go. It's ready to start tracing, and I'm just going to lock that layer, right? Because I don't want to move. I don't want to work on that layer. Let's make a new layer. I'm going to zoom in on this guy. All right. Now, I said earlier, one of the best practices to work when you're creating artwork like this is to think of it in a single color value. Now, there's a few easy things I can do here. Like I said, I can use my blob brush, for example, to create simple shapes like a little bit bigger than that. Like his eyes, right? So I'm just going to go click and click to get his eyes. I can always go back and change and alter and do whatever I want to on that. But let's start off with something simple here, like the shell, this carapace or whatever. All right. So again, I'm going to deal with a black stroke here because I'm using a pen tool. I don't really want a fill, but if I have it, I can always hide that fill as I'm working. And what I'm going to do here is just pick this edge, and I'm just going to do a bunch of clicks. Again, we don't have to use the pen tool in a complex way. I'm just using it like I did to cut something out. If we get to a point where you can't see it, just take that fill and just hide it to get to. So again, it's kind of like I used in Photoshop when I was cutting out. Okay, now there's one here that's a little out of control. It's a little bit too high. Maybe I'll just do that and use my arrows to put it where I want it to be. So you can almost think of this again in terms of, cutting this out of a piece of wood with a saw. First thing you do is just cut straight edges to get rid of all the extra material. Then you can go in and you can do what I call kind of like thinking of sandpaper. Now, how do we get the sandpaper effect? Well, I'm going to deselect and select it again. I'm in just the main selection tool, object, path, simplify. And this gives me this value that I can then simplify what I've created down. There's also this option here, simplify curve, angle thresholds. See, and this kind of was just going to simplify it down. And you can see the original had 35 points. I've minimized it down to 11. Maybe I'll leave just a little bit more than that. okay, down to 12. And I hit OK. Now I can go in here and start to just clean this up a little bit so it's a bit more accurate. See? If you need to, you can drag to get a little more curvature. Messing around with these Bezier handles to get them to be a little bit more accurate. And then adding by having that little circle tool there to just get a little bit more of a quality shape to it all. So it doesn't have to be fancy, complicated, click, drag, all that nut stuff that people tend to overdo when they're thinking about working with their pen tool. See, I just simplified down. Now here, I've got an interesting thing going on here. Maybe I'll grab my pen tool and add one more point, click, drag, to then come into this point I just created so I can maybe get just a little bit more shape than what I had. There you see it. A little more control, but I didn't have to fight. I didn't have to fight by using the click and drag rule. If I flip it around, you see the shape it's created. But I'm going to go back and leave it in its outline stroke form. All right. Now, I can keep going here and say, okay, what's the next shape I see? Well, I'm actually going to deselect, and I'm going to look at his mouth here, this little smile, and I'm going to switch to this curve version here. Because I'm now just going to click along this curve. And you see, I'm just putting some points wherever I feel. Oops. There we go. And close it off. Now that looks pretty good, but I do know that there are some sharp angles here. Let's go ahead and just minimize this to get a sharp angle there. Sharp angle there. Go to this side here. Sharp angle that one. And sharp angle that one. And now you can see where I can have some more fun trying to get this more accurate. Just like so. And this could be a little more. Again, the sketch is just a suggestion. It's not what we're living. And now you can see, now that I've done that, if I were to flip it around, it's got its shape. The problem is that it has been broken up into smaller shapes. Well, this is a good use now to use our eraser tool, right? Make it a little smaller. Let's go with 4. And watch, all I'm going to do here is just slice it, using the eraser to break this one shape into multiple shapes. Okay, just that simple. And now if I swap it, you can see, wow, that was really quick. But again, I'm going to leave it in outline form. What about this complex shape down below, the lower carapace here? Well, I don't know if I want to use the pen tool here. I could use the curve tool. But this time around, I'm actually going to use the paintbrush tool. Double click it here. That's fine here, but I'm actually going to take it from being a 5-point down to not a 5-point. I guess I can use 5-point. It's just going to be a little bulky. And but remember, I'm just painting the shape. And because it's putting a stroke down, I don't have to be accurate on it. Okay. You see, it is a path. It's a curve. But what I need to do is come down here and say, no, make it smaller. Okay, so it kind of matches the others. Again, I can go in and even this now, I can simplify. Watch, object, path, simplify. Oops. Remember, you have to click off and click back on. It's kind of something you have to remember to do, because really what it did, because I had a point selected, it simply just simplified the one point. See? So I'll just simplify it down to get rid of any extra points I don't need. Now I can come in here and get this to be a little more accurate. You'll notice one thing that's happened though, and that is because I used the tool there of the brush, that there are points where I need them, but there also are quite a lot of points where I don't. And you're seeing where, look over here, it didn't actually connect. It didn't attach them. Well, how do we attach 2 points? I hold Shift and select the 2 points, right click, and join. And you see it joins it and it closes up that shape. Now I can come in and find out, okay, where do I need a little bit extra here? I felt like I needed one here. Let's just click and drag. I need one here. Let's click and drag. Okay. Guess I could have put another point there. I kind of like that. That looks good. This could be minimized to a straight line. Oh, and obviously I need a point here somewhere. So I'm just going to add another point there, click and drag, grab my subselect, direct select, and then control the in, out, and the out of that. All right. So you see now I've got that shape, and that's what it looks like. But real important here is to attach that so it seals up that shape and joining that corner where it was not joined. All right. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the negative, that which would be right here, to cut out of the other. Let's go ahead and unite them. You see they're all now part of the same shape. And I'm going to hold Shift, select the outer shape to cut out. So that now you see, if I flip it to a fill, that is the complex fill shape. And that's pretty cool. So it's minimal single color. And I'll come back to that in a second. All right. Now, what about his claws here? Right? Now, again, we've seen the pen tool in action. We've seen the curvature pen tool in action. We've seen the paintbrush in action. Let's go ahead and switch to my blob brush. And I'm going to go ahead and make it be a proper size here. Let's go with something like 4. And I'm just, actually, it's still a little big. Let's take it down to about. And remember, we still have this fidelity option. So I can say more accurate or more smooth. Now, one thing about smooth is nice, but smooth will not give you sharp corners because it's going to smooth that in the process. So here I'm just doing my Sharpie marker trace with my blob brush. Now again, I'm way off there. Don't worry about that. I can correct that later. And I'm going to paint over the corner there to seal it off. Now I can come in here. See? And I'm just going to try to get this to be a little more accurate. Oops, that was too big a jump. Let me go and do that. I don't like what I did there. Okay, I'll just leave it at that for now. Again, because what this gave me now was a fill shape of the stroke outline of the outline I wanted. but I only want one of those, right? So I can right click and ungroup and release, because I really don't need this inner one. See, I can get rid of that completely to just get back to this shape. And now, depending on what I want to do with this, I can get it in the shape I want, or remember our easy little fix if we've got too much information, object, path, simplify. Okay, and now it gives me a much cleaner, see, I've got a lot less of these points now to fight with. And you can see this one's way off. All right, much cleaner, much better looking. And simplified back. Take it, swap it so we're in stroke view, so I can even get more accurate if I want to, right? I can come here and I can get exactly what I need this to be. For a perfect clean tracing. All right, so that's that. And I can then do the same thing with this inner portion. You know what? Let's go ahead and have fun here. A great way to remember curves and vectors inside of Illustrator are very similar to when you're doing 3D geometry in, say, Maya or Studio Max or something, is that clicks close together create sharper corners. Okay? Just like that, I'm pretty happy with it. Works for me. Select it. Select the outer portion, properties, and once again, we're going to minus. You see what we get there. So there are multiple ways to think about this, but one thing you're seeing here is that I'm always thinking about the simplicity of the shapes, a single color. So I'm just doing black. Think again, I always revert back to all logos need to work in a single color. All illustrations need to work almost in a single color first. That's how it works. So think about, again, those stickers or whatever on the back of your car. All right, let's have some quick fun here. I'll just use this one again. Oops. Okay, so I'm just using this pen tool, making lots of clicks. If you can't see what you're doing, remember, we're currently looking at it in the fill mode. Let's switch to stroke mode. You just see some of these tools are just a little bit more accurate than others. All we're dealing with here. Okay. Done, sealed up. Again, if I need to make adjustments after the fact, I can do it that way, or select object, path, simplify, and control the simplification process to, and it will, again, go here, you can see it was 56, I've just knocked it down to 24. Because Illustrator, remember, is not about super detail nearly as much as if you only need two points, two anchors to make a circle, well then it only takes a few more to create a more complex shape. Okay, so I kind of like the way they'll come out. I'm just going to go back here and I'm just going to use my pen tool now to do a series of lots of little clicks. Again, click off, click on, object, path, simplify, simplify it down. Options to come in and control your smoothness of your angle. See, more curvy, all the way to sharp. More points, less points. And then I can come in and get this accuracy level to what I need to make. If I have too many points, Remember, I can click with a negative pen right over an anchor to take it away. Sometimes you actually find see, that's kind of just a bad anchor. Click, drag, add it. Click, drag to remove. And that gives us a new anchor point that is just more controllable. And I like that. I like that. Okay. Select this, hold shift, select the outer one, property, minus, swap. And just that quickly, we've got our crab kind of set up. Like I said, we kind of want to make this as a simple vector first. Working with text. Okay. Smaller. Font choices. And again, there's tons of different options here. Maybe I'll find something a little, well, I mean, it looks like it's using, let's go with that. Remember that one important thing here, when you make text and you're happy with that text. Now it's good to have a backup version of this so you know what font, so you could basically document, oh, this was this font, which was all round Gothic bold, before I right click and create the outlines, which now tells me it is not a font anymore. It's just a shape. And my favorite reuse of my blob brush as well, a little larger, a little flatter, and it looks like the calligraphy brush is fat on where it's thinnest, right about there. There we go, you can see it. And I'm just going to, oh, that's not very good there. I'll just put a dot. But watch this now, right? Boy, that is just absolutely horrible. Let's try that again. This is where having more smoothness might actually benefit me. And just like that, I've got those kind of fleshed out. Even this little guy here. I mean, even if that's just too darn disruptive, bad, right? I can choose anything here I want. Or, you know what, let's just keep it simple. Do something like that. Let's add another point here and a point there. Grab that point to center. Okay. Just to create that in a much cleaner version. This might be a good time to just save. I just hit Control S. I'm going to save it, assignment 3. Save it. It's already knows to go to the right folder. Hit save. And again, we're just going to live with the default 2020 version. And you see now we have a really nice version of our logo, which I now can bring off to demonstrate the single color value. And again, black and white's fine here. If I want to, I can make it a different color. See that? But it's not really all that important. And this is also where, remember, I can place another image here, my layers. And I'm actually going to unlock my sketch layer now so that I can place a color palette choice. Let's see what I'm going to do here for a photo. I don't have, I got this kit. Fine. Kit. And decide where you want to put this. Maybe I'll put it down here, minimize it because it's not all that important. It's just showing my palette choice. And again now, whether I use rectangles to define my color palette choices, or I could use circles, or I can even just use, watch this, I'm just going to use a larger blob brush, larger than that. Okay, and I'm just going to put a swash of color down. Alt-click drag, Alt-click drag, Alt-click drag. So we'll choose 4 colors. I've got my alignment tools to align them or to distribute them equally distance apart. Eyedropper tool, right? This one here. This one here. That one there. I don't know. I'll grab that there. All right. And if you want, you can double click and you can get the color information and place that like we did in Photoshop. Or also, if I look into my color swatches now, here's my swatch light. Window, swatches. Okay, so let's just put that in. And if I go to swatches, I can take these and simply go add swatch. And now that has added it here to my swatch library. See? And you got to imagine if you're doing this for like a major graphic design or illustration for a book, or, you know, they need to have those color values. And that's typically like maybe you're doing package design or something like that for Disney. They need to have these color values in the palette so that when they do the testing, or if they actually do an entire series or something, and you see what you basically get there. I'm not going to put the text tool down and define those, but you get the idea because we did it before in Photoshop. My layers, let's go ahead and lock that layer that we just created to add to the sketch. I'm going to grab my nice little design that's nice and clean, hold Alt, move it over here. Kind of want to make it a little bit larger here. Maybe I'll do it like that. And this might be a good time too to start thinking about grouping. Okay, so Control G or go to Edit Group, Object Group rather. And you see now it is its own group that I can now move and navigate around. So colors. Oh, this is pretty easy now, right? Because I could either now just use my eyedropper and choose those colors, or go to swatches and choose my color. Okay, just like so. But because we did a minus, we created this into like that figure 8 is a compound path. So now to break the compound path, I'll just release it. Select, right click, release. Select, right click, release. And now I can choose the components I want, swatch and color. See, I'm just holding Shift to select and giving it a color value. Now, my problem, of course, is that it's not really getting me high enough contrast here. Let me try doing that one in that blue. Okay, yeah, something like that's not bad. Again, it's just subjective with the color palettes you choose there. Even something as simple as this. Watch, I'm just going to go copy paste. I'll leave these up here a second so I can grab these. Right, because I want my eyes to show up a little better. Just offset them. Something as simple as that. Right, so now we're playing with the colors. We're trying to experiment with colors. I can even quickly do a couple different variations of my colors. Just having some fun with it. So we've got our sketch, a single color value, which we'll actually use this one for doing our color version. Something now tells me. I didn't realize that I was this far off. Oops. Got that portion of his mouth. And this again might be a Control G or group, just so it's now all one group. Okay. Now I can turn this guy back. All right. We'll Control S and save it. Now we're up to putting it on some merchandise. Go ahead and switch our layers now. And I'm going to make a new layer in between to place our swag, our merchandise, right? What the heck? Let's do a sweatshirt. Okay, let's do a sweatshirt in here. Remember, we've got our quick properties here that are a little bit easier than physically scaling it. Sweatshirt. Take our group now here, copy, paste it, scale it down to fit. And you can clear, yeah, it's one of those problems, like I said, when you're dealing with light on dark. And look how small I got it there. Okay. This is why your color choices matter when you're doing your demonstration, because if you want to put this on a dark gray sweatshirt, you might want to mess around with the colors a little bit more. In fact, watch what I'm going to do with this. I'm going to select and double click to get in the sub object mode. So I'm no longer in the group. I'm going to select one value of blue and watch this neat technique. Select same fill color. You see it only selected the blue though that was here. And now I can come over to my swatches and maybe say, you know what, maybe this needs to be on a lighter layer. But that, of course, now means I need to come into the teeth section here. And make them maybe a slightly darker color, like so. And that's only because, well, it's on a dark background. Go back out of that by going back in, and you now get it on. Somehow my little cursor here didn't get the value. Okay. And now it works against something that is dark. Go back to our proper layers, go down below, file, place, some other merchandise. Hey, let's put it on a mask. Properties. So now I can even go into my layers section here and lock all my merchandise down and then be able to, now again, I'm dealing with a dark something or other here. So just copy and paste. This is why, like I say, by the time you shrink this thing down to fit your merchandise, it's nice to know that it is not going to screw with the strokes because we converted those strokes, right? We took away the stroke. We didn't work with strokes. And if we had to work with strokes, which I'll show you again, it's nice to convert them to something before we actually live with that stroke permanent. All right. All that pretty much remains is your necessary information. Name, purpose. Okay. Time 3. Graphics. Illustrator CC2021. I think I'm at 221. I might be at 220. And the date, 9. This work look a little more presentable. See, properties, I can choose center paragraph, change the font, make sure your fonts are always nice and easy to read here. Place it, okay. Go ahead and hit save for now, because now we need to go back and double check. This needs to be a CMYK PDF. Well, it already is a CMYK but it's an Illustrator file. So let's go File, Save As, Adobe PDF. But remember, it's kind of nice to go ahead and make that folder now. Peter, last name, assignment 3. This one, of course, could be assignment 3. Remember, when you save as a file format, because I'm only looking for one PDF here, it's going to have the extension and the icon of PDF. So we don't actually have to say PDF. Let's go ahead and save. This opens up our option here. Now, remember, we don't want to preserve Illustrator editing capabilities, because when you do that, you're giving somebody your art, which means they could take that and be like, yeah, we changed our mind. We're not interested anymore. So what do? You save it in a format that they can't just rip off. Smallest file size that takes the Illustrator editing capability away and leaves it optimized. Save the PDF. Yes, hit OK. Yes, hit OK. It's just giving you warnings. And that is now our PDF. So I can go in here and double click to show you that PDF in all of its glory, where you can clearly see, look at the quality of our raster here. It's all pixelated, right? Even on the shirt like this, you would think this would be really, really, really poor quality. Let's go in zoom. And look at that, no matter how far we zoom in, because PDFs hold the vector. I don't care if the sweatshirt's bad quality. It's just there for a preview. But the PDF shows you just how good quality that is. All right. Now, what's the next one? Well, we have a black and white EPS at 3.5 by 3.5 and a CMYK EPS at 3.5 by 3.5. So the easiest way to think about this is I'm just going to grab this and edit and copy, file new, and just make a 3.5 file, create, and then paste. Properties allow me to quickly now make this be the size I want it to be. Well, I know 3.5 by 3.5 is the exact shape, so let's just go to a 3-inch. Center it in. And this one needs to be saved as an EPS. File, save as. Does it give us an EPS? Yes, it does. Right here in the save as. EPS. Your last name, right? And you could just call it EPS or something like that in the proper folder. Now, this is interesting because it does pop up here, a pop-up window asking you about certain details to your EPS, such as versions based on year. Your preview is a TIFF, right? Because remember, TIFFs was how we saved for print in Photoshop. Transparent background, sure. Embed the fonts or CMY PostScript, languages, all that stuff. Typically, all you have to do is just OK it. Now we need to move on is to the black and white. To do that, I'm just going to take this, delete it, go back to our version here, which is not grayscale, but black and white, and copy, paste. Remember, I did 3 inches before, so I'll go with 3 inches this time. Center it up, file, save as. And this time, this one will be BNW EPS, black and white, right? Or I could actually, it's not even white, it's actually black only. You know, or I will call it single color, because the fact that it's just a single color of black means that is the artwork that you can then print in any color if you were to make a screen print, or if you were to cut it out of a color vinyl, or if you were to cut it out of steel. Doesn't matter. It's basically just a single color vector. So the color really doesn't matter. Now we need to move on to this one AI with transparent cutout sticker style, okay? Which means I'm going to go back to deleting that guy out if I want a colored sticker. Copy that again, paste the colored one again, take it back to 3 inches, okay? And believe it or not, this is often how I like to work in Illustrator. I don't sometimes like to work over the white. I actually like to work over here. And that's because it shows me any errors I didn't pick up on before, see? Like I can clearly see, oops, I didn't pick up on that before. Forgot about that, and I didn't notice because I was over the white. Now, to save this though as a sticker, okay, you see how I have it all grouped here now. If you were to go, I think it might actually be next week. Let me see really quickly here in week 5. There's actually a tutorial that walks you through how to do this. 5. Yeah, how to make die cut sticker with Adobe Illustrator. So next week is a full-on tutorial on how to do this sticker technique, but I'm going to show you here in a nutshell what it is. Because a die cut sticker means it's not a square, it's not a circle. We want the die cut to, because if I were to print this as just a sticker, these would all be separate, right? This is made up of multiple pieces. They're not connected. So how do we create something that goes around this or outlines it to connect it all? Watch this. Object, path, offset path. And you see what it does is it's offsetting a certain amount of inches. So you see now they're all connected now. See that? I can turn that probably into a round number. I don't know why it's such a, you can see I could do miter corners, round corners, or bevel corners. I kind of like the round, right? So this will now be printed as one sticker connected instead of all those other pieces. And I hit OK. Now you see what it's done now, right? Is that it has now combined these all into one, which I now can need to come into my properties and combine into a single color. I'll actually do this as a white with black fill, okay? But it's also combined it all in the layer, okay? So what I need to do now that I've done that is simply paste what I had before, go back to the size I had it, or I could have done this literally before I did this offset path. I think it did it all because it was a group. I'm not sure. Okay. And now you can see where I can now center this back in. And where the black outline is would be the die cut, right? Or even taking the die cut element here and telling it to be transparent. So now I actually have a transparent sticker. And that white outline would be used as the die cut path. So now I can simply just center it back up. Oh, looks like it needs to be scaled down just a little to fit. So even though it appears as it's got a white background, it's actually a transparent sticker. So they're printing the logo on transparent sticker material and then using a cutter to cut along that outline black edge. I probably could have adjusted it so I didn't have this negative space here, but hey, that's what I got. This is an AI file. So we simply just do a save as, Adobe Illustrator, last name. You could call it sticker, you could call it die cut, and save. And just go with the default. All right. Now I can take that sticker away because our last format right here is a 72 DPI RGB JPEG 720/480. So we're making it very small here as the 72 DPI, but we need our artboard to be 720 by 480. So this could easily be another new pixels 720, 480. Okay. And I already have it copied in my mind in the clipboard. So if I just hit paste, it will paste it. And now I just have to make it fit. What am I in pixels here? So it should be less than 480 high, which would be something like 450. No, a little bit more. So you see, even though it's a 720 by 480, we're not stretching this to fit. Do not, like I said, you do not want to do this to the 720, 480 and say, oh, well, I've got all this extra room. Let me make it fit. That is bad. You can't just take the St. Pete logo and stretch it to fit something. You can't do that with, any logo or anybody, a celebrity or a photo of yourself. The last thing you want to do is stretch it to fit. So even though you've got this extra space here, that's perfectly fine. And now we need to do like we did in Photoshop, where we have to save it as a JPEG for web. Well, if I save as, you're going to see it doesn't give me JPEG as a save as. So what else do we get here? You can save a copy. Does that give us a JPEG? No. Export. Look at this. Export, save for web. And make sure you choose the JPEG format. We need this to get under 100K. So if I look here in 100 quality, okay, it is 75.8 kilobytes, small, which is perfect size. If you need to make it smaller, you can decrease the quality. I simply hit save, find the correct, see, you got to double check your folders here. Assignment 3 Illustrator, last name assignment 3. And this one will be last name _4 web. Something like that. All right. Last but not least, put all those in a folder, which we already did because we started in a folder. Right. Here's my folder. I can compress it, right click, send to it on a PC, compress, zipped folder, or just right click, compress. And you can see now that the compressed file is only 3 megs, whereas the uncompressed one was 4 megs. You notice already, vector files are tiny. They are not heavyweight because it's a vector format, which does not hold a lot of weight and mass. So this now is what you would then take into your folder and upload and do any comments that you feel would be necessary. So yeah, if you look ahead at week 5, like I say, next week, there are plenty more tutorials to mess with. Oh wait, I'm in student view. It may actually, yeah, you guys may not have access till, I guess, Sunday to these folders. I'm trying to figure out if there's a deadline. Illustrator pen tricks, image trace. I'm going to show you that next week. I'm going to show you how to use some other tools like how to use Fibonacci, or like I said, if you're to make, let me just do some quick little playing around here. Let's go ahead, just make this a color. Just to show you, like I say, how the Fibonacci style works, where you can create multiple shapes. And when you select them all and you use this neat tool here, which is the shape builder, as I hover over, you see it says what you want to keep or what you want to add to this mix. So I could say, yeah, add, or if I hold Alt, I can take away. So I could say, you know what, this, and that, Alt, take away this, and this. Let's say, take away that, include this shape and that shape, but take away these two here. You see now, if I switch it over, that weird complex shape you can build. And that is, again, used typically if you look up like how to make Fibonacci logos. They're using the Mathematica Fibonacci of true math. So you can look up and you can see all your favorite major logos that are used today by major digital companies and so on have been upgraded using Fibonacci and the high math version of them.